After listening to Kong Suren's explanation, Yang Kai understood the whole story. The Five Colors Treasure Tower is the supreme treasure of the Star Soul Palace, and it is even more famous among the Star Boundary. This is not only because it is an emperor treasure, but also because it is extremely special. The inside of the Five Colors Treasure Tower forms a world of its own, which is similar to the mysterious boundary bead, but it is more complete than the mysterious boundary bead in Yang Kai's hand. Rumor has it that the Five Colors Treasure Tower was born in the hands of Bright Moon Great Emperor, the Lord of the Star Soul Palace, but in fact, the Five Colors Treasure Tower had its own prototype before Bright Moon Great Emperor became famous. It was only later obtained by Bright Moon Great Emperor and refined and improved to form the final form. The space inside the Five Colors Treasure Tower is said to be an ancient battlefield. There are many ancient treasures and magical medicines left in it. The terrain in the battlefield is quirky and changeable. It has been stored inside the Star Soul Palace. It is the favorite and most visited place of Star Soul Palace disciples. An easy place to gain experience. The disciples of the Star Soul Palace, as long as they meet certain requirements, can go to the Five Colors Treasure Tower to gain experience. There, you can improve your cultivation level, improve your fighting skills, and realize the mystery of heavenly law, martial Dao, domain, and law. Although the Five Colors Treasure Tower has existed for countless years, and after so many years, countless martial artists have entered it to experience and search for their own opportunities, but the treasures inside have always only increased. There is no other reason. Entering it is not without risk. Many of the disciples of the Star Soul Palace have fallen inside, and the space ring carried by those martial artists will naturally become the remnants of the Five Colors Treasure Tower for the next group to enter, which is also among the things they're looking forward to find. And the entire Five Colors Treasure Tower has 5 floor/layer in total. The first and second layers can be used by Void King Realm martial artists, the third and fourth layers can be used by Principal Source Stage martial artist. As for the highest fifth layer, the Emperor Senior Stage martial artist can experience and pursue the Great Road. Inside the tower, there are not only hidden ancient treasures and magical medicines that have grown for countless years, which fascinates the martial artist the most. It also has the power of the law and star source. Because there is a broken ancient battlefield. In the ancient times, countless powerful martial artists fought among them, breaking the world and the stars. The law collapsed. So inside the tower, there are also many broken law and incomplete star source. Neither of these things are complete, but there are many mysteries and miracles bred in them. If the martial artist is enlightened, it will have a huge effect on the martial artist. For martial artists, after the Void King Realm is the Principal Source Stage, they have to start to understand the law, but the Principal Source Stage martial artist can only use the law in a simple way. Speaking of law, and truly using its power, it is a mystery that only the Emperor Senior Stage powerhouse can touch. In the Star Boundary, countless Void King Realm martial artists have completely transformed their source strength, yet they still cannot advance to Principal Source Stage. The biggest shackle is the inability to perceive the laws of heaven and earth. It is precisely for this reason that the Star Master level martial artist will be welcomed in the Star Boundary. For example, Yang Kai had already experienced the Shadowed Star Law as early as the Void Return stage. Although it was only the law of a cultivation star, it could not be compared with the laws of the whole world, but one method can be used for all. It can be regarded as Yang Kai is looking at the front door. He will not have too much bottleneck in the future promotion of Principal Source Stage, and he even have the unique advantage for promotion to Emperor Senior Stage. However, this welcome is not only from the appreciation and expectation of the strong, but also from jealousy and plundering. The deed of underworld sect Yin Leshan is the best portrayal. Therefore, Yang Kai will not reveal the secrets of his Star Master. Speaking of which, Pill Master Yang should understand that the opening of the Five Colors Treasure Tower is of great benefit to us, right? Kong Suren asked with a beaming face. Understood. If this is the case, the Five Colors Treasure Tower is indeed a good place to go. Yang Kai nodded. It's more than that. Kong Suren smiled. Pill Master Yang, as you know, this time the dragons and snakes in Maplewood City are mixed, and there are countless large and small forces. How could one or two forces not show up? Treasure Kong meant. Yang Kai was shocked and suddenly thought of a possibility. He. I won't hid it from Pill Master Yang. Heavenly Martial Holy Land, Plain Palace, Azure Sun Temple, and many other forces each took out a batch of precious materials and put them into the space inside the tower. There were not only spirit pills, but also the cultivation technique and secret technique. There are even principal source grade artifacts. Yang Kai's eyes lit up suddenly. If this is the case, then the entire Maplewood City might be boiling. In the past, those martial artists who had cultivated themselves or were not born well wanted to gain some benefits from the big forces. It was as difficult as reaching the sky, but this time there was such a big good thing coming. Countless treasures are hidden inside the tower, just waiting for the fateful people to find it. How can many martial artists not flock to them? Heavenly Martial Holy Land even took out 3 principal source fruits and put them into it. Kong Saren's expression suddenly became excited, and even his voice became trembling. Pill Master Yang, as an alchemy expert, you should be more clear of the role of the principal source fruit than everyone. Refining principal source pill using principal source fruit? Yang Kai exclaimed. Exactly. Kong Saren couldn't restrain the shaking of his hands, and the teacup he held up sprinkled water on the ground. Principal source fruit, in the entire star boundary, only a few top forces can cultivate it. In the South Territory, even the Star Soul Palace does not have a principal source fruit tree. Heavenly Martial Holy Land is the only one. Only 6 principal source fruit come out every 10 years. 3 of them are taken out this time. Heavenly Martial Holy Land is really bleeding this time. Treasurer Kong wants this principal source fruit? Yang Kai saw that his expression was different, and suddenly had a guess. Of course I want it. Kong Saren smiled bitterly. Don't hide from Pill Master Yang. I have been stuck in the Third Order Void King realm for more than 200 years, and I know that my aptitude is not high, if there is no accident. In this life, I'm afraid that I will never reach the principal source stage, but if there is a principal source fruit, the old man can also hit the bottleneck. No matter whether it succeeds or not, there is always a glimmer of hope. Although Kong Saren is the treasurer of Spirit Pill Workshop, he is a member of the Violet Source Chamber of Commerce, but because of his low strength and low status in the Violet Source Chamber of Commerce, there is no way to get Principal Source Pill from the Chamber of Commerce. A Principal Source Pill may create a Principal Source Stage martial artist, and Violet Source Chamber of Commerce will not arbitrarily bestow it on its subordinates, it must have corresponding merits. If Kong Saren can last another 100 or 200 years in this Maplewood City, and if he makes certain achievements during this period, he may have the possibility of being given the Principal Source Pill. Yang Kai could understand Kong Saren's excitement. Because one Principal Source fruit can refine 1 furnace of pills, and the limit of 1 furnace of Principal Source stage is 9, so as long as he can obtain Principal Source fruit, no matter who he seeks to refine it, at least he can get 1 or 2 Principal Source pill. Once he was promoted to Principal Source stage, his status in the Violet Source Chamber of Commerce would be completely different, and he wouldn't have to stay in such a small place as Maplewood City. Not to mention Kong Saren's desire, Yang Kai also has a need for Principal Source Pill. Once he complete the transformation of source strength in his body and takes a closer look at the secret of the law, he will have the qualification to be promoted to the Principal Source stage, and Principal Source Pill can greatly increase his breakthrough success rate. Pill Master Yang, the 5 Colors Treasure Tower, are you going to enter it? Kong Saren calmed down and asked Yang Kai. Such a grand event, naturally I want to see the excitement. Yang Kai smiled slightly. That's good, that's good. Kong Saren laughed. If you miss this time, you won't be able to enter the 5 Colors Treasure Tower in your life. But Treasurer Kong, if that's the case, then this experience will be extremely dangerous. You and I are both in the Third Order Void King realm. We don't have to worry about facing the enemies of the Void King realm, but in case we encounter Principal Source Stage's expert. Hehe, Pill Master Yang don't have to worry. Kong Saren smiled and waved. The 5 Colors Treasure Tower, it is not easy to open it. The Star Envoy has a kind heart this time, and he specially opened his favor to let the martial artist of Maplewood City to enter, but how can all the tower be open? This time only the 1st and 2nd floors will be opened, so only the Void King realm and the martial artist below the Void King realm can enter it, and no Principal Source Stage martial artist will enter. That's it. Yang Kai was stunned. But after thinking about it, he can understand it. The 5 Colors Treasure Tower is an Emperor treasure, it is definitely not a small cost to open it once, no matter how strong the Star Envoy of the Star Soul Palace is, it is impossible to open it all. In that way, the loss of Star Soul Palace would be great. But if this is the case, Yang Kai is happy to hear this. As long as there is no martial artist in the Principal Source stage, he doesn't need to be afraid of anything. When the time comes, he only needs to be careful of the dangers inside the tower. Exactly, I am eager to call Pill Master Yang to come over, that is, I want to tell you about this. The news has not been officially spread. Only those who followed the Star Envoy to the Jade Clear Mountain know it. I also got the news from the City Lord. Now that Pill Master Yang knows the news, please prepare early. Many thanks Treasurer Kong for reminding. Yang Kai said gratefully. Pill Master Yang is polite. Without you, the future of Spirit Pill Workshop is worrying. This can be regarded as the old man way of repaying the favor. You don't have to mind it. In that case, Yang has to leave first, I really want to go back and prepare. Yang Kai stood up and said. See you in 3 days. Kong Saran clasped his fists slightly. Yang Kai nodded, and quickly left Spirit Pill Workshop. Returning to his cave house again, he took out the medicinal materials he had collected from the mysterious small boundary medicine garden before immediately proceeding to refine the spirit pill. Although all the martial artists who entered it were the Void King realm and below, Yang Kai was not worried about encountering 2 strong enemies, but it is always better to have more spirit pills, and if something happens at the time, it can save life in case of emergency. There are a lot of medicinal materials, and he refines them one by one, with no distractions. To be continued. On the second day, the news that the 5 Colors Treasure Tower of the Star Soul Palace about to open really spread in Maplewood City. Countless martial artists cheered and praised the generosity and boldness of the Star Soul Palace, and only a few principal source stage powerhouses were angry. After all, this time the 5 Colors Treasure Tower is not open to them. For a time, Maplewood City's drugstore, artifact shop, and many other shops were overcrowded. The 5 Colors Treasure Tower opened 2 days later, and the martial artist naturally wanted to be well prepared. They did not hesitate to spend a lot of money to buy a large amount of life-saving recovery spirit pill. Even the artifacts that people were reluctant to buy before, this time they gritted their teeth and bought it. If you want to do well, you must first sharpen your tools. Every martial artist understands this simple truth. If they want to gain something in the 5 Colors Treasure Tower and still getting out alive, they must make more and more comprehensive preparations. Mozoki apparently also received the news, and was very interested in it. She also specially notified Yang Kai with a sound bead, and agreed with him to enter the 5 Colors Treasure Tower together in 2 days. Yang Kai agreed, feeling a little guilty. Mozoki came to notify him as soon as she got the news, but he knew it in advance, and instead forgot to notify Mozoki. She was going to the 5 Colors Treasure Tower, and Yang Kai certainly wouldn't stop it. Although this girl is innocent enough to even say that she is ignorant of world affairs, she is a treasure, and like a hedgehog, no one in the Void King realm can do anything to her. Yang Kai continued to refine alchemy with Herdt. At the same time, the city lord's mansion. In a secret room, a man and a woman sat cross-legged across from each other. The man is about 40, with a deep aura. His appearance was majestic, he was wearing a black robe, and his chest was embroidered with the symbol of stars in the sky with silver thread. Although the stars were an object, they looked real, shimmering and mysterious. Silver Star Envoy. The only ones who dare to wear this kind of costume are the Silver Star Envoy of the Star Soul Palace. The logo embroidered with the silver thread is exactly the characteristic of the Silver Star Envoy. Inside the Star Soul Palace, the stars are divided into 3 classes. From top to bottom, Bronze Star Envoy, Silver Star Envoy, Golden Star Envoy. Even the lowest level Bronze Star Envoy requires a strong person at the First Order Emperor Senior stage to serve. This middle-aged man who seemed to be in his 40s was a Silver Star Envoy. It shows that this person's cultivation level has reached the realm of the Second Order Emperor Senior. And the legendary Golden Star Envoy. It is the powerhouse of the Third Order Emperor Senior stage. Over the years, the number of Golden Star Envoy dispatched by the Star Soul Palace is very few, even many ordinary Emperor Senior stage have never seen the existence of the Golden Star Envoy. In the entire Star Soul Palace, there are only 3 Golden Star Envoys, and no one knows where they are and what they are doing. Opposite the Silver Star Envoy, sitting cross-legged was a young woman with bright eyes, white teeth, picturesque brows, smooth and straight black hair, beautiful eyes like a pool of clear water, without the slightest impurity, and the woman is wearing a blue-colored long dress. Decorated with luxurious gems, these gems are not ordinary, each of them exudes wonderful power fluctuations. She sat there cross-legged, her eyebrows slightly condensed, Her internal chi fluctuated, and sometimes miraculously resonated with the laws of heaven and earth. She was already on the verge of breaking through. The woman's cultivation level is the peak of Third Order Void King realm. If she breaks through, it will naturally be the principal source stage. Princess, are you okay? Although the 40-year-old man is a strong Second Order Emperor Senior, he still has a respectful tone when facing this woman at the Third Order Void King realm peak, which clearly shows the identity of this woman, which is not low. Upon hearing the words, the woman nodded gently and said, "There is nothing wrong for the time being." "Ha, Princess, you are too willful." The Silver Star Envoy made an annoyed expression. "You lied to me with a fake face bead, and left the Star Soul Palace with me. After going back this time, I will be punished by the Great Emperor." The woman spit out fragrant tongue and said, "Uncle Xiao, don't be afraid. At that time, Sooner will plead for you. You're also father's old brother, and he will definitely not really punish you." "You?" Xiao Yang squinted at Lan Xun, gloating, "Now you can't even protect yourself, how can you plead to him for me?" The Great Emperor said, "After you return to the Divine Palace, you will be locked up for 10 years. 10 years? Lan Xun exclaimed and wailed, "It's better to kill me. It's too boring to stay in the Divine Palace all day, so I just wanted to come out and play." "Then you should choose a good time for it." Xiao Yang looked as if he could not help it, and smiled bitterly, "You know you are about to break through, why don't you stay in Divine Palace with a peace of mind, and risk leaving?" When Lan Xun heard this, she couldn't help but lowered her head, and muttered, "Didn't the Holy Spirit appeared? I haven't seen the Holy Spirit, so I wanted to come and see the excitement." "You are the daughter of the Great Emperor, are you afraid that you won't be able to see the Holy Spirit in the future? If it doesn't work, just ask the Great Emperor to take you to the Dragon Island as a guest, there are Holy Spirit everywhere. What's so beautiful about a few big snakes?" Lan Xun looked dissatisfied. "A few big snakes?" The corner of Xiao Yang's mouth twitched, and the strong man in the Second Order Emperor Senior stage was speechless for a while, and sighed, "That's it, now you can't suppress a breakthrough anymore, it's too late for you to return to the Star Soul Palace. The Great Emperor also agreed to let me open the entrance of the 5 Colors Treasure Tower here. The Great Emperor will activate the real tower at the same time and let you break through it. In order to conceal it from people's eyes, he even declared that this is the opportunity that the Star Soul Palace gave to the martial artists of this city, and finally fool the people of Heavenly Martial Holy Land, Plain Palace and Azure Sun Temple. Otherwise, I would not be able to achieve this level at all with my own strength. But when the time comes, you must be careful. I will use secret technique to send you directly to the 3rd floor, where you can find a good place, feel the Heavenly Law Martial Dao, and absorb as much of the broken laws of heaven and earth and star source as possible. This will be of great benefit to your future growth. I know. Do you understand how to draw those broken laws of heaven and earth and the star source? Well, my father taught me before, and I also deliberately learned a secret technique. That's good, but it's a pity. Princess is not a star master. If you succeeded in refining the star source in the early years, you should get more benefits this time." Lan Xun pursed her lips and smiled, "Uncle Xiao is not a star master, but you managed to cultivate to Second Order Emperor Senior stage. Although Star Master has many conveniences on the journey of cultivation, it's not the only way. Sooner is very confident that one day I will reach the height of my father." Xiao Yang's expression was shocked when he heard the words, and he laughed and said, "Okay, it is good for the princess to have such ambitions, but it is a pity that you are not a man." Lan Xun suddenly hummed, "What about man? Am I worse than those man?" Uncle Xiao meant that if you were a man, Uncle Xiao would definitely be happy with you." What kind of character is Xiao Yang? The topic turned quickly, and he didn't feel abrupt. "I don't want it, it's smelly, and I don't know what to drink." Haha. Xiao Yang didn't say much on this matter, but solemnly exhorted, "The main thing for the princess this time is to break through the current realm. Of course, if you have enough time, you can also cultivate on the 3rd floor. There are still many good things on the 3rd floor, and there are many treasures, even if we old guys enter it, we may not be able to get it. Inside the 5 Colors Treasure Tower, chance and good fortune are the most important thing, but the realm of strength is actually second. Sooner will keep it in mind." 2 days passed in a flash. Today, Maplewood City was extremely lively, Everyone gathered towards the huge square in front of the city lord's mansion, Void Return Stage, Void King Realm, all beaming with joy, but except for the martial artist of these two realms, the other looked gloomy and unhappy. Principal Source Stage powerhouses are not allowed to enter the Five Colors Treasure Tower this time, and the martial artist below the Void Return Stage does not have the strength to enter. Naturally they will not join in the fun, even many Void Return Stage do not have the courage. Those who have the courage to enter the Five Colors Treasure Tower are those who put life and death aside, and are ready to seek opportunities inside. In front of the city lord's mansion, a high platform has been built at some point. On the high platform, several martial artists of different ages sat. Everyone looked at them with respect and admiration. After all, those few people are all powerhouses at the Emperor Senior Stage, and people below Emperor Senior Stage are not eligible to sit in the seat above. Even Duan Yuanshan, the city lord of Maplewood City, can only bend over, laugh, and stand on the side. Duan Yuanshan is a powerhouse of the second-order principal source stage. In normal times, he is definitely the king of Maplewood City, but at this moment in front of these Emperor Senior Stage, he doesn't even dare to take a breath. Time passed quietly. More and more martial artists gathered. Everyone is looking around, looking for the Five Colors Treasure Tower, the treasure of the legendary Star Soul Palace, for a glimpse of its true colors. It's a pity that no matter how they searched, they didn't get the slightest gain. Some people who know the inside story have reported that the real Five Colors Treasure Tower is not here, nor has it been carried by the Star Envoy. Although this is the South Territory, no one dares to disrespect the Star Soul Palace. After all, it is the treasure of the palace. How can they carry it here? This time the Five Colors Treasure Tower was opened, mainly because the Star Envoy united many Emperor Senior Stage, relied on great divine ability, and cooperated with some experts in the Star Soul Palace headquarters. And both parties worked together to open up the passage into the Five Colors Treasure Tower. So even if the tower is not here, it is still accessible. Yang Kai was standing in the crowd, listening to the conversations of the surrounding martial artists, and soon learned the news. This made his doubts go away. He originally thought that the Star Envoy of the Star Soul Palace was carrying the Five Colors Treasure Tower with him, but he couldn't understand why this was happening, but now he finally understood it. While waiting, someone patted his shoulder from behind, and then Mo Zioki's voice came over, "Big brother Yang." Yang Kai turned around and saw Mo Zioki smiling and standing beside him, and beside her, countless martial artists grinned and looked at her with dread. To be continued. Hedgehog is the most suitable way to describe Mo Zioki. Wherever she went, the martial artists were in pain and avoid her. For a time, the place where she and Yang Kai were, formed a vacuum zone with a radius of 5 feet, and no one dared to get close. "Big brother Yang, I found you. There are so many people here," Mo Zioki said, turning her head and looking around, as if a hillbilly had entered the big city, with novelty everywhere. Yang Kai looked at her with a smile, with a soft voice, "Zioki. What's the matter?" Mo Zioki turned her head. The next moment, her beautiful face paled, covered her mouth with her little hand, and pointed to Yang Kai's shoulder and said, "Ah, big brother Yang, your shoulder is bleeding. Who attacked you? So awful." "It's okay." Yang Kai's face was serene, as if he had been used to it. After a little touch, he stopped the flow of blood and said, "Just don't touch me casually next time. Otherwise, I might lose too much blood and die." Mo Zioki was taken aback for a moment, and soon blushed, lowered her head and twisted, pinching the corners of her clothes with both hands. "Haha, Pill Master Yang, you are here." At this moment, Kong Saren's hearty laughter came from the side, and Yang Kai turned his head and saw that the Treasurer Kong strode towards him. "Treasurer Kong." Yang Kai slightly clasped his fists. Seeing that Pill Master Yang is full of confidence, Kong is relieved. It seems that Pill Master Yang has prepared well this time. Yang only needs to be able to retreat alive to be content. Pill Master Yang is humble, inside the Five Colors Treasure Tower. There are countless opportunities, Pill Master Yang will definitely be able to return home alive. "And, this girl is..." "Oh, Zioki is my friend." Yang Kai introduced Mo Zioki to Kong Saren. Although Mo Zioki is simple, but not familiar, so she just slightly nodded and stood quietly next to Yang Kai. "Pill Master Yang," the old man asked the lord who came from the headquarter of the Chamber of Commerce to inquire about the news before, entering Th5 Colors Treasure Tower this time. I'm afraid we will be separated. We can't join hands. Kongsaran said with a little loss. Yang happily moved his head and asked, could it be that after entering it, the place where we appears is not fixed? He has been in various secret realms and small world more than once, so he is very experienced in this aspect. Since Kongsaran said so, he thought of a possibility. Exactly. Kongsaran nodded solemnly. The space inside the 5 Colors Treasure Tower is an ancient battlefield. The laws of heaven and earth are broken and there are many uncertain factors. Therefore, even the martial artist who enter it together will appear in different positions. The old man was thinking about working with Pill Master Yang before. But now it seems that it is an extravagant hope. Yang Kai smiled slightly and said, we can't join hands. Others can't join hands either. That's good, everyone has their own abilities. Pill Master Yang is right, and the old man also thought of this, so I specifically came to inform you, and you must be careful when you enter it. Inside the 5 Colors Treasure Tower, traps and restrictions created naturally by the world is not few. If people like us fall into it, we will most likely be dead. There are countless disciples in the Star Soul Palace falling into it every year. Don't be careless. Many thanks for Treasurer Kong for reminding me, I will be careful. Yang Kai nodded lightly. The two stood there and chatted casually. By the way, Treasurer Kong, who are the people sitting on the platform? Yang Kai gestured at the high platform in front of the city lord's mansion with his eyes, and asked. Kongsaran chuckled and said, actually, the old man only recognizes 3. The second one from the left is the vice president of my Violet Source Chamber of Commerce, Lord Luo Qi, and the third is Lord Zheng Yuan, the vice president of the 7 Bright Chamber of Commerce. The one in the center is Lord Xiao Yang, the Silver Star Envoy from Star Soul Palace. As for the remaining few, the old man only knows their origins, and doesn't know their names. Yang Kai nodded. Just as he was about to say something, Mo Zioki's voice came from the side. The first one on the left is Chen Wenhao of Heavenly Martial Holy Land, the first one on the right is Feng Ming of Plain Palace, and the second one on the right is Gao Swiding from Azure Sun Temple. Yang Kai and Kongsaran looked at Mo Zioki in amazement. You know all of them? Yang Kai asked. Mo Zioki chuckled, I have seen a lot of names and portraits of the powerful Emperor Senior Stage, so I know a little. These people, except for the Silver Star Envoy Xiao Yang, who is in the Second Order Emperor Senior Stage, all the rest are at the First Order Emperor Senior Stage. The girl is very knowledgeable, and the old man admire her. Kongsaran clasped his fist with admiration. Mo Zioki waved her hand quickly, this is nothing. Yang Kai's expression moved slightly, because when Kongsaran introduced the Emperor Senior Stage, even if others could not hear him, he added the title of Lord to show respect, but Mo Zioki directly called the names of those Emperor Senior Stage. Which shows that this girl doesn't care too much about these strong people. But, at this moment, there are a total of 6 powerful Emperor Senior Stage gathered in the small Maplewood city. It seems that the top forces of the entire South Territory are present. This is a big event. No wonder even the city lord Duan Yuanshan has to stand aside with a smiling face. Before the hour came, many martial artists did not dare to show any signs of anxiety even if they were waiting, and not many people in the square in front of the city lord's mansion dared to speak loudly. After all, 6 powerful Emperor Senior Stage were sitting in front of them, who would dare to be arrogant here? But, there are people who do not know how to live or die, selling things here. The top healing holy medicine 9 revolutions resurrection pill, buy it as soon as possible. The flesh and bones, dying people, as long as there is still a breath, with this spirit pill you will be fully recovered, there are only 3 in total, this is the family treasure, buy it before it is sold out. A shout suddenly sounded among the crowd. All the martial artists were taken aback, and immediately hurled towards the place where the sound came from. If any spirit pill is said to be the best seller in Maplewood City in the past 2 days, the answer is obviously all kinds of healing spirit pill. After all, many martial artists want to enter the 5 Colors Treasure Tower. Who dares to guarantee that they won't get hurt in it? Therefore, the martial artists have long emptied the healing spirit pills in the major shops, causing the price of all healing spirit pills in Maplewood City to increase by 3 times, but they are still in short supply. No matter how expensive the price is, can it match your own life? Perhaps a healing pill can save one's life at a critical moment, and the martial artist will naturally not be stingy with themselves. As early as last night, Maplewood City's healing pills were exhausted, not to mention the high-grade healing pills, even the most common pills were sold out. And at this moment, on this square, someone shouted and selling some 9 revolutions resurrection pill, which has the effect of healing the flesh, bones, and even a dying state. How can it not attract everyone's attention? This voice. Yang Kai and Mo Zioki looked at each other and couldn't help but wonder, why does it sound familiar? Come and buy it now. The 9 revolutions resurrection pill is made from the legendary undying source liquid. You should know, the undying source liquid is the essence condensed from the eternal tree. 1 drop is even more precious than 10,000 years stalactite, supplemented by many rare medicinal materials, made by the Emperor-grade alchemy grandmaster himself. Don't miss it. The shout continued. Yang Kai suddenly remembered who the owner of this voice was. And Mo Zioki obviously reacted, gritted her teeth, and angrily said, "It's that old liar." While speaking, she rushed out. Relying on the advantage of her hedgehog effect, Mo Zioki bluntly opened the road in the bustling crowd, rushed directly to the cellar, and yelled, "You old liar, you have come to lie again, see how I teach you a lesson today." The seller looked up and recognized Mo Zioki. He suddenly felt a little frightened. Before Mo Zioki has the time to make trouble, he suddenly pointed at Mo Zioki's back and widened his eyes, as if he saw a goddess descending from the earth. His eyes popped out, and exclaimed, "Wow, 5 colors treasure tower." Everyone was overjoyed when they heard the words and looked back. "Where is the 5 colors treasure tower? It's empty over there." Fooled again. Mo Zioki reacted quickly and turned back quickly. There is no trace of the old liar in the same place, he has long since disappeared without a trace. I'm so angry. Mo Zioki stomped angrily. 100 meters away, somewhere in the crowd, a sloppy-looking old man with a goatee sighed softly and said to himself, "It's so dangerous. I was almost caught. Why is my life so bitter? The little girl is too much. She want to hunt down this old man for a few thousand source crystals. It's really hard for me." Feeling sorry for himself for a while, he suddenly pulled on the clothes of a man next to him, and said in a low voice, "Brother, you are also going to enter the 5 colors treasure tower. Do you need a healing medicine to be safe?" "Oh? Old sir has a holy medicine for healing?" The man suddenly became interested. He. The old man grinned, showing a big yellow teeth, and mysteriously took out a jade bottle from his clothes, with a mysterious expression on his face. 9 revolutions resurrection pill, please look. Seeing Mo Zioki coming back angrily, Yang Kai knew that she must have returned without success. But Yang Kai felt very strange, because he had some contact with the old man in the black market at that time, and he didn't find anything peculiar about the other party. It was just that the person was a bit trivial, and he was not good man at first sight. But after Mo Zioki chased him just now, his spiritual mind has been locked on the old man. But in an instant, the old man got rid of his tracking and disappeared in place. The old man is not someone who is easy to deal with. This surprised Yang Kai very much. After all, his divine consciousness now far exceeds his current cultivation level, and he has almost reached the level of principal source stage. The other party can still get rid of his tracking, which shows that the old man is no ordinary person. But having said that, most people don't bluff and deceive everywhere, and they won't use tricks that can easily be break apart. To be continued. Time passed by, and it was noon. On the high platform, Duan Yuanshan, who had been bending over to make a smile, quickly walked in front of Xiao Yuyang and asked for a few words in a low voice. After getting an affirmative answer, he turned around, collected his breath and shouted loudly, "Friends of Maplewood City, please be quiet." When everyone heard it, they immediately understood that the main event is coming, and they all immediately kept silent, and turned their attention to the high platform. Duan Yuanshan smiled slightly, clasped his fists and said, "Thanks to the gift of Lord Xiao from the Star Soul Palace, the 5 colors treasure tower will be open in the Maplewood City, and with the help of Heavenly Martial Holy Land, Plain Palace, Azure Sun Temple, Violet Source Chamber of Commerce and 7 Bright Chamber of Commerce, putting in a large number of genius treasures, cultivation technique secret book, and martial skills secret treasure. I am grateful to all the people of Maplewood City for today's grace. I will remember it in my heart. This Duan City Lord, on behalf of Maplewood City want to thank all the friends here today. Everyone, I hope you all will climb up a level in Martial Deo, I wish you all. Duan Yuanshan was eloquent as soon as he opened his mouth, praising and thanking people, obviously he was prepared. But before he could finish speaking, Xiao Yang frowned impatiently and said, "Stop talking nonsense, talk about the main point." Although he was so reprimanded in front of countless martial artists in the city, Duan Yuanshan dared not show his dissatisfaction. Instead, he nodded and continued, "The time has come, please lords, open the 5 colors treasure tower, so people can enter to tower." When the words fell, the 6 emperor senior stage stood up one after another. Under the high platform, countless people's eyes also turned to the 6 people. Xiao Yang, who was in the center, let out a long roar, and suddenly pinched the mysterious magic arts with both hands. The surrounding world's spiritual energy buzzed, and the vigorous coercion came out from him, making many Void King realm martial artists yearning and frightened. Not only is the Void King realm martial artist like this, even the other 5 emperor senior stage are staring at Xiao Yang intently at this moment, seeming to want to peek out some clues from his movements. Xiao Yang's movements were incredibly fast, his hands moved, leaving only heavy after images, making him look like he have countless arms. With a soft shout, Xiao Yang suddenly pointed his hand forward. Somewhere in front, a mysterious rune pattern suddenly appeared. Immediately after, Xiao Yang continued to use his finger as his pen, the law of heaven and earth as ink, and the void as cloth, and runes slowly appeared. When these runes appeared, it began to flow according to a certain rule. Just like a living thing. The sound of chi 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 sounded constantly. There is an inexplicable force splashing into the void, rushing to the 4th level. Not long after, a circle, with a huge rune pattern about 10 feet square, appeared in the eyes of everyone. Xiao Yang screamed again, "I'll have to trouble everyone for the work." His voice fell, and the other 5 emperor senior stage shook their figure, and under the twinkling figure, they stood in another 5 different positions. The 5 people used their own methods and poured their own pure and huge source strength into the rune pattern. The whole rune pattern began to spin around. And as the power of the 6 emperor senior stage powerhouses poured in, the rune pattern turned faster and faster, making people feel a little dizzy and uncomfortable at first glance. The faces of the 6 emperor senior stage were solemn, and the source strength seemed to be consumed a lot. After a short time, except for Xiao Yang, the other 5 people turned pale. Fortunately, this process did not last long. When the huge rune pattern suddenly turned into a light gate and stabilized, Xiao Yang shouted again, "Please great emperor." When the words fell, from the light gate, a palm flickered. In the darkness, it seemed that some barrier was shattered. Inside the stable light gate, the shadow of a tower suddenly appeared, the tower's exuding 5-color glow, no one can see its true colors. 5 colors treasure tower / pagoda. Under the high platform, the martial artist who saw this scene exclaimed, their eyes widened, and greedily looked at the tower emitting colorful glow. That is obviously the treasure of the Star Soul Palace, and the 5 colors treasure tower of the great emperor that is famous throughout the star boundary. Countless people have only heard the rumors of this pagoda, but have never seen it with their own eyes. Not only have they seen it now, but they will enter it in a while. Thinking of this, the breath of the martial artists couldn't help but getting fast. "You have worked hard." Xiao Yang let out a sigh of relief, nodding slightly at the other 5 people. The 5 people seemed to be extremely exhausted. Hearing the words, they didn't say much, but after a flash, they returned to the original place again, closing their eyes and adjusting their aura. But at this moment, a space ring appeared in Xiao Yang's hand. He smiled slightly and threw the space ring towards the light gate, shaking his backhand. The space ring shattered in an instant, and from the inside of the space ring, suddenly hundreds of different colors of light appeared, and they shot towards the 5 colors treasure tower like arrows from the string. It's a treasure brought out by those big forces. I saw an artifact. Wow, isn't that principal source fruit? If I can get this fruit, I can also be promoted to principal source stage. There are only 3 principal source fruit, but there are tens of thousands of friends gathered here. Can you get the principal source fruit? If I can't get it, don't even think about it. After learning that the rays of light turned out to be treasures placed in the 5 colors treasure tower by the top forces, everyone became excited, especially the existence of principal source fruit. which can most stimulate the nerves and blood of these Void King realm martial artists. Although excited, no one dared to act arbitrarily. After all, Xiao Yang was still staring there. Xiao Yang smiled slightly. "Everyone, you can enter." His voice fell. How can the martial artist who have been waiting for a long time hold back? They used their body techniques and secret techniques one after another, rushing towards the light gate, lest they slow down. For a time, the square in front of the city lord's mansion was very noisy and chaotic. Before entering, some martial artist fought in order to grab the order. Xiao Yang didn't care about it, but his eyes were fixed on a certain woman in the crowd. Seeing that woman look towards him, he lightly nodded and flicked his finger secretly, and a gentle force hit the woman. Yang Kai and the three were also mixed in the crowd, squeezed by the chaotic flow of people, suffering beyond words. However, the martial artist who accidentally touched Mo Zioki suffered bad luck, as if they were stabbed by a sharp needle, painful, and one after another avoided. Yang Kai gave Mo Zioki a wink at a glance. Mo Zioki understood, and went forward without hesitation. After some twists and turns, they finally broke into the vicinity of the light gate and rushed into it. The familiar feeling of long-distance teleportation struck again, and Yang Kai stabilized his consciousness, unmoved. After a short while, the scene in front of him changed into a very special environment. He immediately noticed that the world's spiritual energy here was not strong, but rather thin. But between this world, there is a power of law that forces martial artists to rush. Although the power of law here feels weird, not as complete as the outside world, only in a state of fragmentation, but because of this state, it allows people to better comprehend it. No wonder the Five Colors Treasure Tower can become a must-visit place for the disciples of the Star Soul Palace. Under this special environment, the martial artist of the Star Soul Palace can touch the threshold of the law more easily than others, although the broken law also has its shortcomings, making it impossible for people to understand the real mystery. But it is the most suitable for people to get started. After the Void King realm, it is the principal source stage, and if you want to be promoted to the principal source stage, you must understand the laws of heaven and earth. There is a treasure like the Five Colors Treasure Tower in the Star Soul Palace, and the disciples in the palace are at least 30% easier than others to be promoted to the principal source stage. This is an extremely terrifying chance. As soon as Yang Kai finished his thoughts, he heard a terrifying scream from not far away. He was startled, and quickly turned his head to look. He realized that not far from him, a martial artist who arrived here first was bitten by a crocodile-like monster beast in his throat, and blood shot outward like a fountain. The martial artist covered his throat with his hands, but he couldn't stop the flow of blood. In addition, there are more crocodile-like monster beast, biting his thigh, madly dragging him under the grass. Gilyalu. In the blink of an eye, the martial artist disappeared, leaving only muddy mud and sewage-like sprays on the spot. This is a marshland. As for the martial artist who suffered misfortune, he obviously arrived here before him, but after he was teleported, he felt dizzy for a short time, and when he failed to react, he encountered a misfortune. In the situation just now, even if Yang Kai wanted to make a move, it was too late. The fierce beasts hiding under the swamp moved too fast. Shoo! With a soft sound, from the corner of Yang Kai's eyes, a crocodile-like monster beast, exactly like the one who killed the martial artist before, came out from under the swamp. A pair of beast eyes, full of scarlet colors and looked hideous. Open its mouth wide, biting toward his throat. With the lessons of the previous martial artist, how can Yang Kai dare to neglect? At the same time as his figure flashed, he bravely threw a punch, and the colorful glow on his fist hit the crocodile's head directly. Boom! As if hitting something made of gold and iron, the spark was everywhere, and the crocodile was smashed back and fell into the mud in front of him. But it didn't die right away, but with a flick of its tail, it got under the swamp. Only then did Yang Kai have time to release his spiritual mind. At the next moment, his face couldn't help but sink. Under his perception, wherever it was, there were countless life fluctuations exuding fierce aura in all directions, lurking under the grass and mud, quietly approaching him. These things are obviously the same as the crocodile-like monster beast just now, and their individual strength is actually not that strong, only about the level of the peak of the 9th order monster beast, which is equivalent to the 3rd order void return stage. Such a monster beast was really nothing in Yang Kai's eyes. But, there are too many of them, and Yang Kai really doesn't want to entangle with them. To be continued. If someone like the martial artist just now was teleported to this place, it is very likely to encounter misfortune. After all, not every Void King realm can ignore the discomfort of teleportation like Xianxia. They are more or less get dizzy. At this point, Xianxia immediately leaned back and wanted to leave quickly. But something he never expected happened. He had only risen less than 3 feet high, and a huge pressure suddenly came from the void, as if a mountain was pressing him down from the air, directly pressing him back to the original place. He didn't even have room to resist. Flight restriction formation? Xianxia's face turned dark, and he immediately reacted. When Kongsaran introduced him to the internal situation of the 5 Colors Treasure Tower before, he said that there are many natural or non-natural restrictions and traps in the 5 Colors Treasure Tower. The effects of these restrictions and traps are strange, and the flight restriction formation is one of the most common. In these flight restriction formation, the martial artist cannot fly too high at all. Once they exceed a certain height, these restrictions will take effect, suppressing the martial artist back. What Xianxia encountered just now was the rebound of the flight restriction formation. Only for a while, he didn't know whether the flight restriction formation here was arranged artificially or naturally. He didn't have time to think about it, because at the moment he fell, countless lurking crocodile monster beasts leaped from all directions and rushed towards him. The big mouths of the beast looked terrifying and chilling. Xianxia's strength turned, and his fists came out. Suddenly, the sound of bangs was endless. In the blink of an eye, he knocked away dozens of attacking crocodiles, but the vitality of these things was extremely tenacious. Even if they were hit head-on by Xianxia, they didn't die in one shot. Instead, they all turned around and disappeared into the mud. And more crocodiles pounced one after another. Soon, Xianxia was covered with crocodiles, biting on his hands and thighs, and the bite hurts. The crocodile has amazing bite force, even an ordinary beast cannot be taken lightly. What's more, these are all monster beasts whose strength has reached the peak of 9th order. The general Void King realm. Even the bite of the crocodile monster beast cannot be resisted. Fortunately, Xianxia's physical body is strong, and the 5 elements indestructible sword is running. The fierce 5 elements sword chi hurt the crocodiles a lot, many crocodiles splashed with blood in their mouths, and they had to release Xianxia. But Xianxia was still dragged by the crocodiles and sank into the mud. It was cold and dark underwater. The most important thing was that it was not clear water, but muddy mud. Even if Xianxia opened his eyes, he couldn't see much. He punched out for a while and found that not only did not relieve his situation, but instead, he is sinking deeper and deeper, more and more crocodiles came. Secret technique, Moonblade. With the 10 fingers flicking down, a series of pitch-black moon blades flew out. Accompanied by the sound of chi chi chi, Xianxia's pressure was greatly reduced. In the mud, red blood and dead crocodile carcasses were all mutilated. Demon Eye. When Xianxia opened his eyes again, there was a golden color in his left eye, and his vision finally recovered a lot. Under the perception of divine consciousness, not only did his slaughter fail to repel these crocodiles, but instead attracted more crocodile monster beast because of the bloody aura and the noise. Don't know how to live or die. Xianxia was furious, thinking that with his current strength, even in the face of ordinary principal source stage is no problem, but because he was not aware of it for a while, he was brought to such a situation by a group of monster beast. This made him a little bit angry. With a wave of his hand, Xianxia directly released the monster insect queen that was still repairing its body in the mysterious small boundary, and gave the order with his spiritual mind. The monster insect queen is now Xianxia's blood beast, and it has its own spiritual wisdom, and naturally follows his orders strictly. The purple and blue swords swayed, and the 2-color light flashed, setting off a wave of swords attack. Click! Ice-cold domain was permeated, not only caused Xianxia to involuntarily fight a cold war, but the crocodile monster beasts also became slower. The brilliance flashed, the sword light surged, and the crocodile monster beast were chopped into 2, and died instantly. Even the crocodile a little far away was not spared. With the purple and blue swords in hand, the monster insect queen seems to have greatly increased its strength. Even if the snow as clear sky secret technique is not used, it will shine with the simplest sword moves. Xianxia snorted, and when he was about to take the opportunity to get out of trouble, the light from the corner of his eye suddenly aimed at a strange place. In the depths of the mud, there is a place that exudes a clear light. Spiritual mind probed the past, and actually noticed a trace of energy fluctuations. Yang Kai couldn't help but brighten his eyes, urging his momentum to protect his body, and dive down. The monster insect queen was like a loyal guard, following Yang Kai's side. Whenever there was any interruption, the enemy was divided into two pieces as soon as the sword light came out. After a short while, Yang Kai went deep below and came to the place where the clear and misty light was emitted. With the power of Demon Eye, he finally saw clearly what this thing was. It has palm size, and looks something like a spirit mushroom. What is this? Yang Kai looked blank. Although he knew a lot about the medicinal materials in his home star territory, he still felt that he hadn't learned enough after he came to the star boundary, especially his knowledge of spirit herbs and miraculous medicine. He hadn't even heard of most the things here. He had never seen or heard of this mushroom-like thing in front of him. While observing, the clear and misty light turned into green. After a while, it turned red. After thinking about it for a while in his limited cognition, Yang Kai was sure that he did not recognize this thing, but judging from the aura it radiated, it was definitely a kind of principal source-grade medicinal herbs. Just take it first, anyway, the medicine garden in the mysterious small boundary is still there. After transplanting it, one day he will be able to understand its type and function. Thinking of this, Yang Kai immediately started. After a while, he transplanted this mushroom-like medicinal herb into the medicinal garden of mysterious small boundary. After doing this, he did not rush out, but continued to look around. It really made him find a few identical medicinal herbs again. It took a full half a day before Yang Kai rushed out of the mire. The monster insect queen followed closely behind him. Along the road, countless corpses of crocodile monster beast floating on the water surface, dozens of miles of continuous swamp, had been dyed red with blood. It seemed that the ferocity and intimidation of the monster insect queen had stunned the crocodile monster beasts, or perhaps they were almost killed. Yang Kai finally did not encounter many more attacks, and went out of the water smoothly. This time he didn't make any more mistakes, but flew up to a height of 1 foot from the surface of the water and headed out. There are many types of flight restriction formation, some completely restricting flying, and some have restricted flying heights. From the first encounter, the flight restriction formation here is undoubtedly the latter, so as long as it does not exceed a certain altitude, he will not trigger the formation. The area of the swamp seems to be very wide, and Yang Kai flew for half a day before finally flying out. The monster insect queen was also taken back by him long ago. The monster insect queen is still in the process of repairing its physical body. It is not good for it to fight prematurely, and Yang Kai does not want others to see that he has such a help. Today's monster insect queen is his biggest trump card. The more hidden it is, the better it will be. The space inside the 5 colors treasure tower, he don't know how vast it is. After tens of thousands of martial artists in Maplewood City entered this place, Yang Kai had not encountered a single person all the way. He looked around, but he didn't find his goal, which made him a little disappointed. This should be the first floor of the 5 colors treasure tower. Kong Saran told him that after entering the pagoda, try to go to the second floor as fast as possible. Although the first and second floors are suitable Void King Realm martial artist training. But for third order Void King Realm like them, it is naturally better to go to the second floor. The way to enter the next floor is to find a 5-colored light beam one after another. Yang Kai had been looking for the so-called 5-color light beam, but did not find it. This made him a little disappointed, and he didn't know where to look for the 5-color light beam. Just as he raised his eyes and looked around, the ground suddenly buzzed, and immediately trembled violently. In the depths of the ground, there seemed to be thunder rolling by, which is deafening. Yang Kai's expression changed, and he hurriedly ran the St. Yuan, looking around vigilantly, lest there be any big change. There was no special situation around, but a true dragon phantom suddenly appeared at that extremely remote location. The true dragon body length is unknown, the whole body was flaming red, the dragon's tail was swaying, and it rushed straight up to the clouds, and then fell down at a very fast speed, without knowing where it fell, and then disappeared. Yang Kai's eyes lit up. He didn't expect that in the first floor of this 5 colors treasure tower, a true dragon phantom would appear. It was definitely not caused by any secret technique or cultivation technique, but the real true dragon phantom, and even the true dragon artifact, because when the true dragon phantom appeared, Yang Kai clearly felt a heat in his chest. On his chest, a true dragon scale was fused and refined into his body. And that piece of dragon scale, at this moment, echoed with something far away. Yang Kai immediately realized that this might be a great opportunity. No wonder the rumors say that there are many opportunities in the Five Colors Treasure Tower. Those who are lucky enough to enter it can get a lot of benefits. If the luck is bad, even if the strength is high, the number of entries is useless. At this point, he no longer hesitated, and immediately rushed towards the place where the vision came at a very fast speed. The position where the true dragon phantom appeared was far away from where he was. Even if Yang Kai was fully capable, it took 3 hours to arrive. Looking up, Yang Kai couldn't help but stand still in a daze. Because there have been a lot of martial artists gathered here, at a rough count, there are hundreds of them, and there is a steady stream of martial artists who have seen visions like him. This is a mountain valley-like terrain, and in the center of the valley, an altar-like building suddenly appeared. The altar seemed to have just broken out of the ground, and an ancient and desolate aura filled the surrounding ground. To be continued.